This is the Tabernacle podcast, and we are honored today to have two friends, two members of our church, missionaries, dare I say? Yeah. Keith and Rhoda Ackerman. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's our joy to be here.
Now, we didn't start on the greatest note. I'm not talking about relationally. I'm talking about you woke up this morning and didn't realize that today was the day because we are not great at communicating. But all of a sudden you roll out and I got coffees. I don't know if you can see that. Matt's a little jealous. I am sipping a mocha latte. No, a latte.
Just a latte.
Just a latte. It's got some good mocha in my Banner of Truth mug. And so not only did you show up, hey, no problem, right? But you showed up with coffee. And so I couldn't be more blessed. I'm pumped.
It was self-serving. I wanted to bring my coffee.
Well, she has one too, so we're all coffee to all
but
around.
Mine's the best because it's decaffeinated.
Oh, you've got the is mine decaf?
No.
Okay, good. I'm going to be flying by the end. But Keith and Rhoda, thank you so much for being with us. This is something we've wanted to do for a while, but it's been a challenge because you never know when Keith and Rhoda are in town because there's a lot of pressing commitments that you have when you are stateside. But if you don't know Keith and Rhoda, you probably recognize their faces. They've been serving the Lord in Pakistan for 15 years, all the way on the other side of the world. Did I get that right?
Literally.
Yeah.
15 years?
Yep.
Now, for the podcast listener, Pakistan, and I don't know if you knew this, is the fifth largest nation on earth by population. 257 million people.
Yep.
And you know all of them, don't you?
Oh. A lot more know me than I know them, probably.
Oh, gotcha. Do you stick out a little bit?
A little bit.
Over in Pakistan?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, tell us just briefly what kind of ministry you guys are doing there. We'll come back to that because I want to hear a little bit about your stories. But just for context, what is the nature of the work that God's called you to?
Back in 1906, before Pakistan even existed as a country, some missionaries were sent to the subcontinent, to the land of India then, before partition, and the Associate Reformed Presbyterians started to work in 1906 in this part of the world. Goes back to the days of Praying Hyde and from Sialkot. And there's a lot of historical missions related around Pakistan. But back in the 40s after partition, the country was dedicated exclusively to Islam. It's the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, and it's for the Islamic people. And many of them left India and joined in Pakistan at partition. There's still a tension between the countries, but that work dates back a long ways. And so historically, we've got this huge history given to us. However, it's struggled. The work has struggled a lot, and we were called. The first missionaries that went were medically inclined. They started little clinics, and then it's evolved into a tertiary care hospital. And God has graciously blessed us, and we've been able to get certification recognition. We're the top hospital in the district, the only certified hospital in the district, recognized by the government, with the Bachelor of Science Nursing program for the School of Nursing for minority girls. We're dedicated exclusively to serve minority girls, that being other than majority community. And so majority community, of course, being Islamic. And then so the girls that come, we're privileged to lead them. My job, I'm the director of the full program, hospital, School of Nursing. I'm everything to all men at that place. At that point, as the director, I'm a direct report to the board of directors, and the government allows us to serve and has granted us missionary visas, and we're thankful for that, to serve. For years, Rhoda has led the School of Nursing because she's Dr. Keith's wife. And so she has...
Sorry, I made a mistake there. It's Dr. Keith Ackerman.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's how we're referred to in Pakistan, Dr.
Keith.
Keith and Ma'am Rhoda. But it's been a journey that's been a great blessing. The work is huge, lots of tension, lots of stress, lots of people depend on us. At our Christmas parties, we have around 800 people that gather that would call us, that's their employer, where their extended families and all that come that we're responsible for in the Christian community. We're the largest, I'm not mistaken, the largest Christian or minority employer maybe in the country. And so it's a massive program Encompasses a square city block of property and 200-bed capacity facility. When we went, there were no IV pumps in the hospital, and to God be the glory, we just launched our open heart program. And so it's just amazing what God has done. And I've prayed a lot of prayers, God, if somehow, some way you could, and He's blown that way out beyond belief. So
this hospital is in, if I remember right, Sahiwal.
Yes.
Correct?
Yep.
Is it called the Sahiwal Hospital?
It's Christian Hospital Sahiwal is one of the titles that it has, and it's also known as the Nancy Fullwood Hospital Society. Nancy Fullwood was one of the foundational pieces, a name that came way back from the ARP, and that name got applied to the society registration. But it's known locally as Mission Hospital. Gotcha. In fact, the street name in front of the hospital is Mission Chalk. Mission Hospital. And so we're known throughout the country, not just in that district, but throughout the country.
So is it a hospital that serves anyone?
Anyone.
But it's also a training hospital, if I'm getting this correct, where you're training nurses and giving them an education.
Yes.
I'm remembering one of the videos that we showed at church, kind of a promotional video for the ministry. If I remember correct, when you say minorities, if you're a minority, meaning you're not part of the majority, which would be of the Islamic faith, things can be difficult to find employment or advancement education-wise. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's very limited seats. The majority of the seats go to the majority community, and there's very limited seats, and you have to have very high academic your scores have to be very high to get a seat into an Islamic situation or a post. And then, two, a lot of the families cannot afford to train their children in this culture. Please understand, it's not our culture in the West.
Right.
And so the girls have very little value.
So it's like they're double minorities.
Yes.
Because they're not part of the majority faith, and they're females. Is that correct?
Yeah. Their brothers get education. The family will mortgage their home to get an education for the son, but the daughter is just an expense because of the dowry they have to pay to get them married and what it costs. So we're literally serving the least of these. That's how we look at it.
I love it.
And
I love it.
They come to us from the Christian caste, but Christian in name only, no idea of who Christ is or how to follow Christ. And so we've even gone to the point we no longer use the term Christian when we're asking, are you a Christian? Because that's a birth thing, like I'm German by birth or I'm Swedish by birth. And so we ask, do you follow Christ? Are you a Christ follower? And so the teaching and discipling and training, we're really trying to instill in their hearts who Christ is personally. And they just come alive in their faith. And it's a joy to see their heads go from bowed and humble to confident, looking you in the face. And I've had them say, no, Dr. Keith, no.
Which they would never say.
No.
So like one of the reasons I'm excited today is because I grew up on the mission field. I'm an MK. And so I grew up around people like you all the time. And people like you, that sounds like you're weirdos.
We are.
To the Western world, it is weird. Why would you ever want to go serve the least of these? Well, it's obviously because of what Christ has done in your life. But even then, most people would say, okay, Lord, I'll follow you, but please don't send me to fill in the blank, or please don't make me a missionary, or please don't.
You're telling her story.
Yes. So this is, I didn't know that, but this is why we're transitioning, because we have this mystery person, this Rhoda Ackerman, or Ma'am Keith, Mrs. Keith. Did you ever, as a young girl, imagine that you'd be a missionary?
My grandparents were missionaries in Canada. They went to Canada after my mom was married, but we would go and visit, and I loved it. And I thought, well, I think I should be a nurse and be a missionary up in Canada, where my grandparents were. But I thought, nah, I'm never gonna, be anything like that. And then as I was in my teenage years, a little older than that maybe, and I just felt this kind of a thumb in my back kind of thing. I need to go somewhere and work for the Lord, and I was feeling very much that it should be Latin America. And then I started dating Keith, and I had told him about that, and he said, well, where do you think you should go? And I said, I'm not going to tell you. I said, because I don't want you to do something that God's not asking you to do, because it won't be right. And so he took several weeks, and he came back and he said,
Let me interrupt you, because you talk about intercessory prayer. God, she's called somewhere and I got to figure it out. And if it's wrong, I can't marry her.
That's good. That was a good interruption. Yeah.
Yeah. And so a couple weeks later, he came back and he said, I'm feeling that my call should be in Latin America.
Oh, no.
And
you're like, oh, no, I got to marry this guy.
And it was just like, that's our confirmation. That's what God wants us to do. And we got married, and it was probably 6 months after we got married. He was in Bible school, and there was a couple that came to our church for Christmas, and they shared their story, and he wasn't even in the church when they were talking. And after church was over, I said, you should go talk to these guys. They're in Honduras, and they had quite a story to tell. And so we talked to them, and we had no money at all. We were very poor at that point, but somehow God provided everything we needed. And in February, we went for a vision trip to Honduras. And later on that year, we went there to live.
Yep.
Was it also medical missions?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we've got to back up just for a second. Are you originally from Michigan?
No.
No. So where were you born?
I was born in Indiana. And
good. A Hoosier.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm a Hoosier too. Born in Bloomington. Yeah.
And my dad was a pastor. He ended up being a bishop in the Mennonite church.
Okay.
And
She's from the United States.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere, because a preacher's kid, they move around.
Oh, I know. I am
Yes.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
So you came to faith at a
yes.
pretty young age?
I was 7 when I started to cry one day, and my mother said, "What's the matter? Why are you crying?" I said, "I don't know." And she just led me to the Lord at that point.
Wow.
And I've tried to do my best to do what He wants for the rest of my life.
So you grew up in the Mennonite church, and you said it
Yes.
was in your teenage years
Yes.
that you felt that thumb
Yes.
in your back. I've felt that thumb.
Yes.
It's not painful, but it is uncomfortable
Yes.
if you don't obey the thumb. We talk about it, the tab, all the time, giving God your yes. In fact, just this last weekend, I was talking about giving God your blank check and saying, you
Yes.
fill out the rest. Was it similar to that, or was it just like you knew that missions was going to be?
I think it was just something I knew. I always had the feeling that my husband, if I ever got married, would be a pastor, a preacher of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt that there was somewhere we needed to be.
Mm.
And yeah.
Yeah. So, Keith, if I remember correctly, you had a different upbringing.
I did. I was raised here in northern Michigan, grew up here, and my parents were saved in their married life after my mom and dad. They'd grown up in church, my mother had come to the Lord early on here at the Tab. She accepted Christ here at the Tab, was a Sunday school teacher here in years past.
Yeah.
And so, they kind of were in a nominal situation in a church and not really settled in their hearts. And when they went all in, that's the years prior to my coming on the scene. But my mom has an interesting story about me that she never told me until later in life. She said, when I was carrying you as a child, God asked me, can I have this child for me? And she dedicated me to the Lord prior to my birth. and never told me that until God solidified the call in my life. It was years later, in the midst of ministry, that she wrote me a letter and told me this history and this story, and it's helped me. It's confirmed that we're on the right track, because you have doubts, you have questions as you're going through in ministry, but being set aside. But it wasn't enough that she did that. I had to come to a point of knowing that at the age of 4, I remember walking. We were in a tent meeting. I remember telling my mom and my dad I needed to go pray. And my dad's like, okay, kid, sit down, be quiet. And my mom's like, no, you should probably take him forward. And my dad walked with me literally down a sawdust trail at a tent meeting here in northern Michigan, and I knelt at an altar and gave my heart to the Lord at that age. And, it's not been a perfect journey, but there's been every step along the way. It's been a journey that tried my best to follow that core. I grew up in church. It was a very conservative church and very legalistic in many ways. But through that, got some good, solid training and teaching. And a lot of my Bible training didn't come from Bible school. It was what I would learn at my parents' knees as I was in church Sunday after Sunday after Sunday.
So even though they came to faith later as adults, they were all in.
Absolutely.
So you were in church from a young age.
3 times a week, unless we were sick. And if we were sick, it was bread and butter was for the meal, because we couldn't lay out of church for a fake yet. No, it was we were all in as a family, and spent every summer at church camps. And my dad was a public school teacher, and we took the summers, and we traveled some, but church camp was a big part of that. So, we grew up in the church, active in the church. I actually started preaching when I was probably around 13. I was in one of the church camps and felt the call of God on my heart. And it was just like in a moment of, I don't know how to explain it. It was so pointed, the call and the message of the push. And I can take you to the chair I was sitting in that huge auditorium. And the people that were around me were oblivious. And I remember the words, "Feed my sheep." And I started looking at that scripture and going, what does this mean? And more started piling, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's when I felt the absolute, it was a pressure, a push.
Yeah.
And
was it like a thumb?
It was more. No,
it wasn't a thumb.
It was a boot. I mean,
it was a boot.
It was heavy.
Well, that's what men need sometimes.
It was heavy. It wasn't something I could just say, well, then I'll think about it. It was one of those moments in life that was, it was kind of the light in the donkey's face kind of idea, and it was so strong. And from that point on, I've just pursued that path. Yeah. And my dad was very concerned for me because I did so many things. I loved to do so many things. I was in a welding program. I was doing pre-hospital. I worked with North Flight for a while, and I had so many different backgrounds and things. And my dad sat me down and said, "Son, you got to pick a vocation here. You got to settle down and do something." Little did we know that everything that I was going through,
it's prepping you for
God
where you
was
are now.
prepping for what we're doing now.
I found the same
it's just
story.
Amazing.
Yeah. Tons of different options.
Yep.
So how did you? So like what town specifically, or
Traverse City?
So you went to Traverse City High School?
Yeah, I went to. Yeah, my dad taught at that school, and I grew up on South Airport Road. Yeah, I'm a local boy.
So how did you get from there to Bible school?
Just because of this feeling I needed to go, and then I went down to Westfield and went to Union Bible Seminary and attended there.
That's Kentucky, right?
That's in Indiana, just north of Indianapolis.
There's 2 unions, it must be. Or I'm thinking of something different. Yeah.
It's just north of Indianapolis. A friend was a Friends school, Friends denominational school originally. But
so you showed up there.
Yeah. We actually got married, and then when we got married and finished our honeymoon, we moved there to go to school.
Oh, so you met, I thought you met at Bible school.
No,
well, how did you meet Rhoda? That's what we want to know.
Oh, through a youth group function. Our youth group was going to Mackinac Island, and somebody said, "Hey, you should invite Rhoda." And Keith, you kind of know, you've got their phone number, give them a call. And so we invited Rhoda, and because I invited Rhoda, she sat by me on the trip over and all of that. And it was,
so by this time, you're in Michigan.
Yes.
Oh, pastor's daughter.
Yes.
Now the call is up here in Michigan. Got it.
We met here in Traverse City.
In youth group.
Yep.
Traverse City.
Our first date, if you will, was to Mackinac Island in that youth group time. And So
Lots of dates happen on the youth group bus.
because she was by herself, as Keith, you need to stay with her and ride bike with her and all that. And it just kind of something stuck from there on, and it's been real.
So, Rhoda, correct all of that.
There's nothing to correct.
Okay, so he got it right.
Yes.
Okay, so was he like the security blanket with all of these other yahoos in the youth group? He was like the only person you knew, I guess? Or did you know some
we
other?
I knew his family. I mean, my mom and dad had gotten together a few times, had them to our house. I think we were at their house.
Yeah,
and
we did supper a couple
and
times. Her
so-
dad had a
so
chainsaw
I-
that needed repair, and my brother
Yeah.
worked on it. I mean, it's that
Yeah.
kind of connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were kind of acquainted, and I don't know.
So you dated, then got married, then
Yeah.
went to Bible school.
Yes.
So you went there together.
Right.
Married
Yes.
housing or find your own? Or,
Find our own. We
Oh,
lived
yes.
off campus, and
so
struggling
that
to
would have
live.
been the 70s?
that would
Or
have been
80s.
no,
80s.
it would have been in the 80s.
In the 80s.
Yeah.
I was thinking late 70s.
Oh,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
been in the 80s when we did
So
that,
it was there that you got your ministry training.
right?
Yes.
But then where did you go from Bible school? You went to Honduras?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
But it was medical missions.
It was called to just be missionary, and while we were there, they had a clinic on site as well, and so that came natural to me. And our coworker's wife was leading that. She's a nurse, but with family duties and everything, they handed that over to me to take care of. And so, it was a wonderful time, very difficult time, very financially poor, but
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
very-
I lived it, brother.
we while in Bible school, we survived on $50 a month
A month.
for food.
Wow.
Shopped at Cub Foods, and it was just we did. We learned how to. Our first salary starting out was $550 a month, and we had to pay our own transportation fees out of that and utilities. So
In Honduras.
in Honduras. So we were up in the mountains, learned how to work with the people, did a lot with coffee farming. I learned my love for coffee comes from that posting. I was very bivocational even as a missionary there, working in the clinic, delivering babies, seeing patients. At times, the doctors would sign their whole practice. 4 or 5 doctors would sign their practices over to me to cover for the week or weekend.
And you're not even a doctor at this point.
No,
Yeah,
I'm not.
yeah.
And I was working full bore in third world medicine and set up the lab, got the X-ray unit. It was just a developing project there. Went from a clinic to a hospital. We transitioned that. But then the farmers would call and a cow would be down and I'd go out and do medicine, or a horse run into a fence and need sutures
back
and stitching.
memories.
Yeah, so it's just all been a journey.
When we did a disaster relief team, the first ever disaster relief team from the TAB, we ended up in Leogan, down in Haiti, the epicenter. And there was a team of 8. And I'm the least skilled guy on the trip, but I'm leading the trip because I speak the language.
Right.
But one of our guys, this is a shout out to Ed Pearson, he had got a nursing degree in the Air Force. And I think now he's a PA. But in Haiti, as he did clinic work while the rest of the guys are building something, the Haitians would come with all of their various ailments. They didn't call, or they called him Dr. Ed.
Sure.
Because they couldn't conceive of anything else. And his practice, oh man, that guy was just saving lives with a smile, and picked up a little Creole by the end of the week. So,
Cool.
Rhoda, for you, going to Honduras, this is the dream,
Yes.
or the dream, the call, but also
Yes.
the dream, a holy dream that God's put on your life, even as a teenager. What was that transition like for you? Was it everything you thought it would be? Were there difficulties? Were there challenges?
Definitely, there always is. But when we went down, we actually drove from here all the way down into Honduras twice.
You didn't fly.
No,
So
not
you did-
always. We did before, but
Yeah.
But when we went
That's
down
a
to
road
stay,
trip.
When we moved. we-
Yes.
Yeah.
when we moved, we drove down, and they told us, or some people said that called us short-term missionaries
Yeah.
to Mexico, because
Okay.
we got into Mexico and we had one problem after another, and God had His hand in all of it, but it was a long trip. And
Like how long? Like
weeks.
Weeks.
3
Yeah.
weeks.
Yes.
3 weeks.
Wow.
Stuck with.
So you drive
Brady.
across this great nation,
Yeah.
and then
Yes.
you cross the border. You're through Mexico.
When you get to Texas-Mexican border, you're halfway to Honduras.
Yeah, you're only
From
halfway.
Michigan to
Yeah.
Texas-Mexican
yeah.
border, you're halfway to Honduras.
There's no straight shot.
No. And
It was vehicle problems. I built the vehicle. I built the mud truck, and it was a Keith issue.
Do I trust this man? Yeah. But then, I've been to Honduras, as it's known properly.
Yes.
Sorry, I wasn't speaking in tongues there. It's you've ever talked to someone who's been there. Have you been to Honduras? And then they're like, you mean Honduras? And it's not a first world country.
no.
It's not even really a second world country. I mean, I've lived in countries like that. Was it difficult for you there?
I'm going to back up a little bit. When we went for our vision trip that February, we told each other, we're not making any decisions. We're just going to go see what it's like.
Yeah.
And when we got there, we kept slipping up and saying to each other, when we come back, when we come back, when we come back. And our hearts, it just took our hearts and kept them. And when we drove down our first time as we were moving there, and when we got into town, it was just like, we're home.
Really? Yeah. Yeah. You felt it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was it like a missionary compound that you lived on? I'm not as. I mean, I asked that because in my upbringing, that you were there was these little stations, and there were other missionaries close by that became like family.
Yes.
Type of deal.
Yeah, we had a runway, a clinic, and housing, and an airplane hangar, and they built the Bible school there. And so, we were. They basically went to the end of the road up in the mountains and built this property and developed it, and then we moved in. There wasn't electricity when we got there. 24 hours a day. We were on generator part of the time, and part of the time just in the pitch black dark, and so
gas lamps.
Yep.
Gas lamps and candles, flashlights.
Yep.
Yeah.
You haven't been to church until you go to church with gas lanterns and all the bugs flying around it, and the dogs catching the bugs during service.
I understood why Eutychus fell asleep in that gas lamp-filled room. Yeah. Now, was this where you started to build a family?
Yes. Our oldest daughter was born there, and our second one, we were expecting our second one, and had to come home because she tried to come early.
Okay.
And so...
That was a trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how many years total were you in Honduras?
4 years.
4, yeah.
4 years.
So was that a standard, like for my parents, it was 4 years on, 1 year back.
Yep.
Yes.
Do deputation where you're back, but not really. You're going to all the different churches. Yeah.
Exactly.
So what types of things did you find yourself doing there? I mean, Keith's working in the clinic. I assume also the Bible school teaching?
The Bible school, I was teaching choir in the Bible school. I was the music teacher and teaching some of the classes. I was doing church planting.
Okay.
And going out, we had four-wheelers and ran out in the villages. We'd put like 8 boys, 10 boys on a four-wheeler and go out and drop them off 2 by 2, and we had preaching points. So I was speaking 3 times on Sunday, usually Monday nothing.
In Spanish?
Yeah. I was completely fluent in Spanish. Within 6 months, I was preaching in country. I had a lot of Spanish background. We went to language school in Costa Rica. But when we got to the field, our coworkers had a medical emergency, had to come back to the States, and we were by ourselves, so it forced us to function. And so, I was preaching. And there's a lot of churches that are now established down those routes where we went and did that planting. There's a lot of children growing up, oddly enough, with the name Keith.
Keith.
And they spelled it K-I-D because they didn't know how to spell
Keith.
Keith. Yeah, it was named after me.
So did Spanish come easy for you, or was that more of a challenge?
It was more of a challenge for me because I'd not had any Spanish at all up until we went to Costa Rica. And so, but...
Don't let her kid you. She's good.
I could get along.
Yeah.
But what my role there was food preparation was pretty difficult.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure it was probably in Haiti as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's amoebas and parasites and everything on all
everything
the food.
Takes twice as long.
Yes.
You gotta clean everything. Yeah.
You have to clean everything. And so that took a good part of my time. And when we got there, I was expecting, of course, and going over the rough roads was not good. And we had found a doctor in the main city, and he said, "Go home and don't come back and see me for several months because of the rough roads."
Wow.
And so I was pretty much housebound until after our child was born, and then, that was, and I did work a little bit with doing scheduling and whatever for the nurses in the clinic. But other than that, I don't know what else my
You did a lot with the ladies would come over and you were teaching them how to cook and sew, and there was things they would come over and visit with you. And
yeah,
she has a really good connection with the ladies. She's quiet and unassuming, and they love to just come and visit and knock on the door. And it was like we were in the Old West.
Yes.
And very, very similar. I mean, the guys,
Wild West.
The guys would ride out of town, a lot of horses, and the cowboys would ride out of town after they'd liquored up at the bar, emptying their 6 guns on the way by the house, kind of literally. It was it was cowboys and Indians kind of thing. And so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Did some crazy things. Yeah, it was. It was a big adventure for us.
I loved it there. I thought I could just move there and stay there till I died.
Yeah. Was there anything in particular? Because there's, in speaking with people that don't have that background, we were joking, you guys are weirdos to the Western mind. But it's, when you've given God your yes, well, for me, it was my parents. And I've spoken to so many missionaries or people that felt like maybe they were called to missions. And typically it's, we're going to wait until our kids are grown, until after travel soccer. And, then when it's more safe, just for me and my wife or my husband and I, to go. And I've always said, or found myself saying, don't keep that from your children. Is that there was a lot of hard things for me. I'm not trying to make this about me, but I'm asking, is it similar for you? I wouldn't trade my upbringing for anything. It was crazy. It was dangerous. It was adventure. There was times it was hard. There was a lot of moving around. But the people that I met and what God taught me through that was priceless.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Was there anything in particular that you can point back to the time in Honduras, either one of you or both, that you felt like God taught you about himself or about ministry, or did you feel his promises come through in, like one moment for each of you? Yeah.
I think the most impactful thing that I can point back to that affected our ministry happened when we were in language school in Costa Rica. We were praying, we were struggling with just where we were at and the call and everything and what it was going to look like. And just really felt the need as a couple to put ourselves before God, just to, like in our apartment, we just knelt down and prayed and said, Lord, we're just committing everything to you. Like personally putting it all on the altar idea.
Again.
Just really, well.
You've already had the vision trip, now you're in the language school, but you feel like you have to do it again.
But it was just feeling like I was inadequate and just didn't have what I needed to be able to do ministry. And so I remember in that time frame, just the Holy Spirit coming and meeting with us in that room, and the blessing that poured into our heart was it was something that had never happened to me before. No, we didn't speak in tongues. We didn't get up and dance and do weird things. It was just a sense of, we can do this now. A confidence that God gave us that we're good to do this because he's with us. And it was we just felt full. Yeah. And it was that point that really established, it wasn't about me, it was about him at that point and trying to do something for God. And, but we had so many stories and so many things that, we've been encouraged to write about it because some of them are just absolutely hilarious what took place and happened. And it's just unbelievable. Working with people, you got to learn to smile. It's just hilarious sometimes the things that wind up and people doing goofy things and lack of education, whatever. But Yeah, it was a point, and then once I started preaching, going out and preaching, and seeing people literally by the hundreds coming to faith, going into
then it just confirms it. Yeah.
Going into a village where they said, we've never had the gospel there. The last person in this village was a priest 75 years ago. We've not had a preacher in our village. And we went and preached a simple message, asked how many people wanted to come to faith, and like 150 people raised their hand that they want to pray. And I'm like, what do we do now? I was taught one-on-one discipling,
Yeah.
And so,
how do you do groups?
And then you question, is this real or not? And you see them change, and persecution come, and they're seriously into this, and a church established, and it's down in a mountain with village people down across the mountain, down in a valley. It took us 2 hours to drive in there with a mud truck crossing rivers and, doing it was seriously a redneck kind of living.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, getting to, you took Jeeps and you winched yourself in and winched yourself out, and that was a good day. So, I mean, that was just the way of living, and it was fun. We'd really enjoyed it.
I can remember crossing a river in a VW van, and the river was higher than they thought. And it was a bunch of my dad driving and a bunch of Bible school students, and about halfway across, we're a little bit stuck, and someone had the bright idea to open the slider door, and then the river came in.
Yeah.
So that was a...
Oh, you drove with your tips of your toes on the pedals, didn't ever touch the clutch because you didn't want water in the clutch, and the water would be running through the floorboards as you're fording rivers.
Oh,
that's just the way it was.
Rhoda, was that the same for you? Would it be that moment the most impacting for you, or was there...
That was, I would agree with that. Yeah, there were just things along the way that were just like confirmations that, wow, God just had His hand on us. Like the time we were going through the mountains, and
go ahead.
We pulled out. There was a bus, and we were going to try to pass the bus, and it looked like there was grass along the road.
This is another Keith moment she's telling us. So.
Okay, yeah.
And as we passed, we're in the process of passing the bus. Our wheels on the left side kind of dropped off. And the bus went on, and we were kind of stuck there, and we were very careful getting out, and we were going, oh dear. And a truck came along and pulled us off the edge. And what
so
was
when you
it?
say
The tie
edge,
rods?
you're in the mountains.
Yes, we're
so
in the
I'm
mountains.
assuming on the left.
No guardrails.
Yeah, there's
Yes.
a drop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't look like it was high grass there, and I thought
Yes.
the shoulder. I pulled out, and there was no shoulder.
There's no shoulder.
And the
Yes.
truck was
so
literally...
you've got your left wheels are over a precipice.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the truck came along and pulled us out, and the
tie
tie
rod.
rods. Yeah.
The wheels were pointing at each other in the front of the truck.
And so they hooked a chain around it, and he was directing the driver and pulled and pulled and pulled, and he said, "Oh, I think that's about pretty close." And
we did an alignment on the road.
and we got in it and finished our trip back into the mission
They
station.
bent the tie rods back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my days.
And a coworker was there, and he had to go out to town later on the same day. And so we had told him, this is where it happened. And he went out and he called us back, and he said, I didn't see anything. And come to find out, there had been a mudslide exactly where we were parked.
Really?
Yes. And about 6 months after that, we got a letter from a lady that said, about 6 months ago, I felt God.
Yeah, she said that 6 months ago, I felt God impressed me that the Ackermans are in trouble on the mountain and I should pray. And we matched up the time. We didn't even know this lady. And exactly when we were in trouble on the mountain, she was faithful, God was faithful, and spared our lives. There's no reason we should be here. It was like a 2,000-foot drop-off there. Yeah. And it was gone, mudslide down the hill. And our verse of promise when we went to Honduras was out of Exodus. My presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. And that was our promise we went to Honduras on. And he confirmed it time and again.
Yeah. And that was just it's such a feeling of comfort to know that God's watching out for us, but He's also putting it on others to pray.
Yeah.
And we are very aware that how much we need the prayers of God's people here as we're there, Yeah,
that's, I got tears there too.
Since she's telling stories.
How many times I've told stories of other missionaries that, hey, I was impressed on you to pray, letter. Like I've used that in messages before. But now I'm sitting here across where you've got the same ones. I'm sure my parents, they have the same type of thing. Hey, whatever you're going through at this time, I just felt like God told me to pray for you. And I mean, there's thousands of those stories, and you experienced it firsthand.
Yes, we did.
And then it becomes a confirmation, even after the fact.
Yes.
Because, like, I've been in those situations, and for us, it was just like, well, this is missionary life, almost died today,
Exactly.
but, and the pulled and bent the tie rod, whatever. And then you kind of almost have this this trauma mentality. I don't know if it's trauma, but it's like these things happen daily, machine gun fire, 6 guns going down the road, mudslide, random medical emergency in your clinic all the time. But then to hear that there's a preservation piece because of a sovereign God impressing on someone else.
Absolutely.
And then you just to get a letter like that, and then you match it up. Now you start thinking you're bulletproof.
Well, we're not.
No.
We're not, but it's God confirmed over and over to us. You feel inadequate in ministry.
Yeah.
There's no way you feel up to the challenge. Yeah. And since she's telling stories, one of our vehicles would quit running. The battery was down, and she needed to tow me with one Jeep, tow another Jeep to pull it and get it going. And she said, I've never towed anybody. I don't know how to do this. I'm scared. I said, well, you might need second gear. Just go down the runway and we'll get going. Well, I hooked things up. We rolled about 50 feet, and I let the clutch out on mine, and it started. And she's spinning gravel with a 4-wheel drive, and I knew I was in for the ride of my life. When I'm started, I'm actually honking the horn, putting the brakes on, and she banged second and broke them loose in second gear, taking me down. So I put the brake on and stalled the rig out, stalled her car out, finally, because mine was running. And I remember walking up to the side of her vehicle, and she was literally shaking. She was so scared and nervous. And she looked up at me with tears in her eyes, and she said, I tried as hard as I could. I'm sorry I didn't do it right. And she did everything perfectly, but that's just how Satan works in ministry to bring discouragement when you're doing your very best.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's not getting where it needs to go, but you're doing just exactly what you're supposed to be doing.
Wow.
And so those were telling moments for us. It was an interesting journey in our married life. It taught us a lot of lessons. She really learned what a crazy guy she married and how goofy it was. Most of her stories are something dumb I did.
A Keith story.
That results in God needing to help us because of my stupidity. So.
Yeah. So but isn't that also how God works?
Absolutely.
He puts, Keith, you're very much like Pastor Adam. You could witness to, as I like to joke, I could send you in the woods and you'd start sharing your faith with a tree. Rhoda, you'd rather not be the center of attention or have to, and thank you for letting me put you on the spot here today. But even in that, God can put together the exact team that he wants, not just in Honduras, but wherever he sends you. Where did you go after your 4-year term there?
The mission had transition happening, and they needed somebody to manage their PR department. And so when we came back for a furlough, they asked us to move to Indiana, in Bedford, Indiana, and I ran the PR department for them during that time of transition. Mm-hmm. And through that, then pursued some further medical education and studies, and went from there into pastoral ministry. So
really?
Yeah, I became a pastor and pastored a church. We pastored for, 15, 17 years here in the States?
I did know that.
15
yeah.
years. Yeah.
In Indiana. Southern?
We didn't pastor in Indiana. We pastored, moved several different locations, but we wound up, we pastored here in Sharon, Michigan. We pastored a small church, and we pastored in Alabama for a while.
Oh, that's as bad as Honduras.
Yeah, and we pastored out in Missouri, and then did some work with a mission down in Florida. So we've had kind of an eclectic journey career-wise.
Yeah.
But most of the time moved into revitalization projects.
Yep.
Where being bivocational with construction as a background, I had to go to earn some potatoes and bread. And so, it was a bivocational type of ministry. And a lot of times we were supporting the churches to, we paid the gas bill to have a church kind of thing. So it was hard scrabble, but God honored us and blessed the work and the efforts and got to see get to see people come to faith and journey of watching people grow and really reaching out and, be a friend to the sinner, and that's what we did and what we tried to do.
Rhoda, how did pastor's wife agree with you? It's okay, you're safe here.
That was it was difficult for me because I always felt out of my element, that I wasn't capable like other pastors' wives, and I guess I learned from my mother because she learned from her mother about being hospitable, cooking for people. My grandmother had a table that seated 18, and most of the times it was full.
Wow.
And so my mother
That's my wife's dream kitchen. A table to seat 18. Yeah.
And my mother just learned from her mother, this is what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You take care of people. And so I learned from my mother, and God knew what he was doing because he knew I'd need to do that in most all of the places we've been.
That's her gifting.
Yeah.
Hospitality and serving.
Yeah.
She's a servant, and she serves, and she loves to serve, and that's where she loves to be.
Yeah.
And that's where she's happy.
My mother was that stereotype of the pastor's wife, that it was just the way she was gifted. Music, hospitality, speak, pray. She's a character, and not everyone's built the same way. For me personally, I remember when my wife and I said yes to pastoral ministry. She made it very clear, I'm not your mother. And I'm like, good. I didn't want to marry my mother. She goes, I will be who God's called me to be. And that should be okay, because I don't think churches mean to do that. But what I'm hearing from you is that spoken sometimes, but usually unspoken pressure that I have to fit into some mold of what pastor's wife is supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And so, I think many people know my wife's, she loves it when people don't know who she is. She's the blonde lady sitting with a bunch of blonde daughters and my son and, the grandkids. And then I'll introduce them to somebody here at the Tab, and they'll be, oh, John, you are married. This is a real person, because her job,
right.
She doesn't like the visibility and all that type of stuff. So
she didn't do have to be the kids' Sunday school teacher
exactly.
and all that. She didn't
the
do
women's
that.
ministry director, the piano player.
That's not her thing.
Yeah, no.
That wasn't her thing.
You're called to be who God's called you to be.
Yeah. And she worked on the construction crew with me, went out in the field and worked, and that was a blessing, but a curse as well, because every parsonage we went into, she had to remodel it. She needed to change this and blow this wall out, put a door here, put a window here, and so she can lay out a property and tell you what needs to be changed and where headers need to go and all that. No, most people wouldn't know that, but she's got a lot of engineering in her now. So
I got a kitchen that needs your eye. So how do we get from? So you said that was so it's 4 years in Honduras, 15 years of just saying yes with the mission, various churches around the country, Missouri, Alabama.
Yep.
How'd you get back to Michigan? Was it also a church?
We were pastoring in Pennsylvania at a church revitalization. It came time for the pastoral vote, and we just felt like God check us and say, your work's finished here. It's time to move. And had nowhere to go, had no idea what that was going to be, and we just talked about it and just felt like we shouldn't let our name go. And then decided, well, maybe we made a mistake and we should, because the people were real upset at the church. Everything was going great. There was no problems, no difficulties. But we just felt like God had something else for us. And our son was getting up close to high school years. And
you have two now or three?
We have three kids.
Three,
yep,
yeah.
2 girls and a boy.
Yeah.
And the girls had finished high school, and the son we just sat down as a family and talked and said, what do you guys think? Because we knew that if it was a call, it had to be with the kids too.
Yeah.
And we were in the midst of talking about what we should do, and I connected with my job had finished, my secular job had finished, and so we were looking at transition, had resumes out different places, and we connected with a lady at Samaritan's Purse that we knew that had been involved with our work in Honduras. And she said, there's a group in a small church group that has a hospital. They just talked to us a while ago, and so and she connected the dots, and God smiled because I'm Wesleyan Armenian and Calvinistic group of the ARP, the Associate Reformed Presbyterian, and how in the world does that work?
How does that work?
How does that go
hey,
together? Hey,
listen, this is where I'm going to say, because those Reformed guys, they think Wesleyan Armenian background people like myself or yourself, we're like wild dogs to them theologically, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it is a great big tent. I love it. But God was prepping you for the tab.
It was really crazy, but they connected us. We had an interview, and it was all it just took off like a race. I mean, it was crazy, the opportunity. And I remember when we were praying about it as a family, and we mentioned it to the kids, and our son got up and left the room. And we're like, well, the girls were in on it. Where did Lane go? What happened? And we chased him down. He's like, he looked at me really crazy. He's like, what do you mean, where did I go? I was out checking on how to learn Urdu because they speak Urdu, and I need to take classes. It's not an issue of if we're going, we have to do this, Dad. We have to go.
Wow.
And that was the absolute confirmation to us that God was really saying, this is where you need to be. We interviewed in, what was it, June we interviewed, and in July we did a vision trip, and we were on payroll in August.
To go to Pakistan. They don't speak Spanish in Pakistan.
This was the part I said that earlier in the podcast, when you were talking, that you were telling her story. She had told me when we were talking about returning to missions, we were considering where to go in missions, and we would be interested in doing mission work. She said, literally said this out loud. Oh, foolish woman. She said this out loud. I will go anywhere except the Middle East. And God smiled, and we're in Pakistan.
So originally it was, I'm not going to tell you where I'm called.
Right.
You have to pray and figure it out. And it was confirmed. Now you're being called to a deeper level of trust because this is the place you said you never go.
Right.
There's only two places I've said I would never go. One of I'm one for two, and that was Buckley, Michigan. The other one I won't tell you which one it was, but the Middle East, it was like, no, I want no part of that.
Right.
Wow. Now, how did God confirm it for you? Because that's a big hurdle to get over.
It was just, there was nothing else in front of us, and it was just like, this is what you have to do. Just do it. And that was, again, I think on that trip we did the same thing. We're not going to make decisions when we go over to see the place.
It was made before we got on the plane.
And we did the same thing, when we come back, we'll do this. When we come back, we'll do this.
So this was I'm looking at the
2011.
map. You said it's halfway.
Between Lahore and Multan.
Lahore and Multan. And so that was the place that you went to.
Yes.
Like you went to this
hospital.
teaching hospital that you were going to be at. And could you envision it by the time you got there?
It was overwhelming.
It was. Our trip we missed our plane or something, and we had to land in Islamabad instead of Lahore, where we normally land. And when we got there, it was the middle of the night, and everything was so different. And then we had to drive, what was it, how many hours?
8 hours.
8 hours.
They threw us in a taxi. We didn't speak the language, and our guide went in another taxi, and he disappeared down the road ahead of us.
And had our son with him.
We had no idea where we were.
In a taxi, and we're just, everything,
It was scary.
and I had slept, I think, 20 minutes on the whole trip.
Yes. Oh, so we've got to back up here a second because people have no idea how long it takes just on a plane to get to Pakistan, right? So is that 24 hours?
It's pillow to pillow time from when we leave our pillow in Michigan till our pillow at the house at the hospital is 40 hours.
Yeah. And it's there's stops, but you're not sleeping. You're in
No.
airports.
No.
You're
Airports.
and then you're.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just giving this for the podcast listeners, 'cause this is stuff I remember. Your feet are all swelled up. You're a greasy mess.
You're trying to find a coffee.
Yeah, you're trying to find
Stay
it, but you
awake.
feel like you just had one.
Yeah.
It's a forever trip there.
Yes.
Yeah.
What year is this of the vision trip?
2011.
2011.
Yes.
So, for context, we are at this point 10 years into the global war on terror. And
Right.
all this stuff is popping off right next door
Right.
in Afghanistan. And this is just, let's say, a hot spot.
Yeah, we're flying into where there's still a lot of military presence. Osama bin Laden stuff had taken place not long ago. There's a lot of, and we were coming in during Ramadan time, a lot of tensions, and we were.
And you don't exactly blend.
absolutely
You
not.
don't look Pakistani.
Not at
Yeah.
all.
Because we had not been there and we were just there on a tourist kind of thing. We were under very heavy security
Yeah.
Yes.
guard. I mean, it was more than just. It wasn't they were honoring us by protecting us.
Mm-hmm.
They were looking askance at us. Why are you here? We didn't feel the warm fuzzies from
Yeah.
the security forces
Yeah.
Yes.
at that point. Not
This
so
isn't
today.
Honduras where you drove in.
No.
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 Yeah.
The people loved us, very respectful but very distant.
Mm.
Yes.
They'd seen so many missionaries come and go. They really weren't ready to invest in another one.
Mm-hmm.
And they hadn't had a good experience with previous missionaries. Things weren't well. The church was a mess. The synods were fighting each other, literally like shooting guns at each other in the parking lot of the
Wow.
church. And
The churches are
the
shooting
church-
at each other.
Yeah, in Pakistan, the Christian Brotherhood is at
Oh,
war
my.
with itself. And so we were walking into, and I remember the coworker that was in country, his first question to us when he sat down to talk to us he's like, so if you die, do I have to send your body home? And we're on a vision trip. And we're like, wait a minute, dude, I can't process this. What are you asking us? Like, if you die, do we put you in the cemetery here? Do we have to fly you back to the States? And that was the real.
That's the reels.
That's the real of
Yeah.
being in that type of a. Well, it's a very heavily. It's a. People want to go there for tourism. Yeah, right. It's not the place people go. It's not the place of choice to go, and it's very restrictive. I mean. Especially for the ladies. It's really hard on the ladies because of how they have to live and how they have to walk and what they have to do. And she can't go out and go jogging. She can't go out to the market and buy something. And she can't go out by herself, period.
Yeah.
I'm either with her or something's going to happen to her.
Right.
And so, and then she was told, well, you really have no value. He's the kidnap threat and the target in the community. And so if something happens to him, what do you want us to do for you? Do we fly you to Germany? You want to go back and be with your kids while he's kidnapped and we're sorting that out? And she's, it's a lot to try to process. What do you do with that? I mean,
Yeah.
how does a spouse even process that information? It was a little bit unfair, probably.
Rhoda-
Quite intense.
Rhoda, was there fear?
Too
Massive,
much.
Yeah.
Massive
Yes.
fear.
Yeah.
Paralyzing
Huge.
fear.
Yes.
But it didn't deter you.
No, we're still going there.
Yeah. Was there any way in particular, because for some people, it's like, well, we're not supposed to come here. Was there anything that you sensed from the Lord that either gave you courage or gave you assurance? Or was it going all the way back to Honduras, knowing?
I think there's been so many things that we can say that God just keeps confirming over and over again just because of the things that are happening in the hospital. That, yeah, this is what I wanted you to do. You're doing what I want. It's definitely not the same type of thing as we had in Honduras, but we still have that confidence that we're in doing what God wants us to do.
Well, we had kind of made a point in our married life to say if there's an open door in front of us and we're uncertain of what we're to do, God, and we pray this prayer, God, close the door if it needs to be closed. And we've had some, our nose got bumped. I mean, the door slammed shut massively, and we thought we were supposed to do that. But if you want us to do this, and really sincerely pray and say, God, if this is what you want us to do, make this possible, make it real. And we've had that sense of peace about going, even with the visa questions and all of the crazy stuff that was going on. There was a sense of push. We were needed. We were wanted. And we've gotten to see some real results and see God do some things through us that we've made ourselves a vessel and really feel like he's pouring his Spirit through us to do something of significance for the kingdom. And now the people testifying to that and the people who've come to faith. And
well, it's been 15 years.
Yeah.
I mean, no disparagement to the Honduras. That was you first initially getting your feet wet into ministry. 4 years, it's a new language, but now you're talking 15 years. So that prep time, plus all the stories that we didn't have time to get to from church to the bivocations. But it's been 15 years of coming and going in Pakistan.
Right.
And is it usually a 9-month that you're there?
It was a moving target. Originally, they wanted us there for 9 to 12 months at a crack, and then we get called to come home to speak at a dinner. You have to speak at a banquet. We need you here. I was responsible for running the hospital, for running the School of Nursing, for being the senior campus pastor, doing all the engineering work, the construction projects, everything that had to happen, and then all the PR work back in the States.
Yeah.
They used to have 12 missionary families at this post, and now it's just Rhoda and I.
Yeah.
And our coworkers running the schools. But it was just a massive amount of responsibility for the fundraising. And the board did a appraisal of my position and said, you're doing like between 7 and 9 full-time equivalency positions. And that's why we came
That's
up.
why missionaries burn out.
We did. We did burn out.
Yeah.
We did burn out.
Well, let's go into that.
So,
or just like, we don't have to go into that, but what do you want to share with that? Because I remember the first time I met you, you were a mystery. But then as we got to know you, it's like, no, this couple's legit. And then we started hearing about the ministry more. And then as we got to know you through Fight Club, we realized, man, we got a tired puppy on our hands. Tired.
I was beyond tired. I was done. I was fried. And I think
Would this be about year 10?
This was
year 10 in Pakistan?
Well, burnout actually started before that. We just were too stubborn to acknowledge it and tried to keep pushing through it and found out, the body keeps the score.
Yeah.
And it did.
There's a book called that.
Yeah. And it did show up, and our physical started breaking down and physically getting illnesses and sickness. And it was like the stress load was incredible. And we had been living in country for the greater part of the year and then coming back. And so usually if we took, they wanted us to come back for 2 months of vacation scattered through the year, 1 month vacation, then another month of vacation. So every 6 months come back for a month. And then the mission said, well, if you're going to be back for a month, we want equal time for you traveling to do fundraising. And so then that was 4 months out of the year we're back in the States.
So you never paused.
And then it kept adding to it. And we, for 10 years, we never had sabbatical. We never had rest. We never had furlough because we were the first professional missionaries sent to the field. And so while we were there, we were running wide open. And when we got back, we were still running wide open. We never had a time of down to rest and recuperate and get our brain and our body and heart back together.
And different time zones. And the one thing, I want to stay on this track just a little bit because I've watched God do a really cool thing in and for you both. But what can you tell us? So at Sahiwal, aside from all of the responsibilities, the roles you're trying to fill, and you're training all these girls, they're all looking, to Dr. Saab. Did I get it right?
Yep.
Dr. Saab and Mrs. Keith, Mom, ma'am. Besides all of the ministry stress and the travel and what the mission, with good intentions is saying, we need you to speak here, and it's 15 years of coming and going and go. Give us what you can about also the challenge of being in Pakistan, because there's some very clear and present danger.
The biggest thing we felt is we felt alone. We were in such spiritual darkness. You could literally feel it when you get off the plane. It was like you could cut it with a knife. It was so dark.
Well, he'd said to you from the beginning, if you die here,
right.
Why would you possibly die?
Well, things go bump in the night in Pakistan.
There you go.
I've been in the bazaar, and the next day a bomb went off right where my truck was parked.
Yeah.
Less than 24 hours later, that whole place where I was parked in the bazaar was gone, obliterated. Yeah. There was another time that...
Kidnappings are real.
Yeah, there was another time they found a group of Taliban with suicide vests that had come. My name was the number one name on the list. They had 2 targets in town, and I was number 1. And we had felt like we needed to leave. Security said something's wrong. We just don't know what it is. We left on a Wednesday, and on a Thursday or Friday, they found this group sequestered within just a few kilometers of where we were living. And they've tracked some money that was deposited in a guy's account, and they found that he was hiding them in his house. And
you had mentioned to me before changing the routes that you took
every day.
Yeah.
Every day you can't be predictable. I couldn't tell my guards where I'm going.
Sorry, I didn't know how deep you wanted to go
this is fine.
To this whole thing because it is a closed country. Yeah,
It is a part of the security. The people who were in charge of our security, the policemen, the Islamic police forces, the government, brought me into the office and schooled me and taught me and said, you can't tell even your own security where you're going. And some days, instead of turning left out of your driveway to go to the hospital, go right, go around the block. Yeah. Be random. Don't be predictable. Don't tell people when you're coming. Don't tell people when you leave. And sometimes in our travels, we wouldn't even tell the Pakistanis where we were, where we were going, when we were leaving, when we were coming, because that's the issue of kidnap threat. The threat of kidnap is so high. Yeah. Because just for a few dollars, they'll sell you out.
Yeah.
And
regardless of the work that you're doing.
But they told me the security guards that were assigned to me, I have police. Government police officers assigned as my security detail. I'm surrounded with elite force commandos. We can't go to the store without taking lights and siren, elite force commandos, AK-47s to go buy a bottle of ketchup. It's literally a dog and pony show when we go on the road. If we go to the airport, it's lights and sirens leading us down the road. And the sirens going, blowing cars out of the way. And we have to stay within so many feet of the back of the car and that's escorting us. And if somebody comes between us, they'll point a gun at the guy's hood and I'm going to shoot you if you don't get out of my way. And so it's just constant. And it's a pressure cooker of pressure that's unbelievable. But God allows humor in the middle of that. I remember one time we're going out to church. We had a healing on our way to church. There was we're following the elite force commandos down the road, and a beggar who couldn't walk on his hands and knees, he's on his scooting along on the ground with his hands, was cutting me off in traffic to try to beg some money from me. The elite force guys yelled at him to get back, and he was grinning. He wouldn't listen to them, and he was cutting me at a stoplight between me and the elite force. And finally, the guy in the elite force reached down and swatted the side of the truck, and it was just a boom when he hit the side of the truck. This beggar jumped to his feet and ran like a deer because he was scared. He thought he'd been shot at. So we had a healing on our way to church.
A healing. Yeah.
But I'm saying that to say that though it's an Islamic country in that context, they took me out to the villages to preach in some of the Christian churches. They would escort me and stand around the church while I preached to protect me from kidnap threat. And the comment from the head of security is, Dr. Keith has a message our people need to hear, and we're happy to take him. And we want to take him out so he can share what he has to share. And so we are openly serving God. We are openly sharing our faith, and we are openly bringing ministry through medicine as a vehicle to the Pakistani people to really show who Christ is and let them know the love as we can give it to them. And so that's the flip side of all the terror, the scare, and all the rest of it. So there's a balance here.
But within that, and this is how we got on that trail, is when you add all that stress and you add all that pressure, and then you add the reality of daily life for any missionary in any country, first, second, or third world, but especially in a second or third world, especially now we're talking Pakistan, is that becomes a drip, 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 drip of trauma You know,
Yes.
there's high T trauma
Yep.
that is, oh, there was an explosion or, you know, a car wreck or, you know, the trauma that you mentioned in Honduras. But then there's just the daily uncertainty, the daily unknown. Oh, I got to remember to turn left rather than right. There's gunfire in the night. There's always the threat of death. And you double down with all of the fundraising and all that. You were feeling that. And you were,
We felt alone. We felt
Yeah.
like we were on an island by ourselves and nobody cared. Nobody loved us. Nobody appreciated us. It was so discouraging.
Yeah.
It was so dark.
and you call that burnout.
And what was even greater than that, it started to divide our relationship. We were in a bad place. In our marriage, we were in a bad place because ministry got so real
Yeah.
and you end up starting to turn and anger, and it was just stuff that
All
was
the cracks
coming up.
the enemy loves to get in. Yeah.
Well, and it was boiling up, and it was showing itself in places we didn't want to acknowledge it mentally. We didn't want to give space to it, but it was showing up. And so I took they had me take a survey to see what the level of burnout was, and I think the score was like out of 29 questions or 27 questions, what do you score? And you know, most people maybe a 1 or 2 or
Yeah.
a 3.
Yeah.
I scored 26 out of 27. And then I realized I'm around the bend. I'm not
Yeah.
going around the bend. I'm already there.
You're already gone. Yeah.
And so,
Rhoda, were you there as well?
Not as much, but yeah, I was.
Yeah. You were feeling it.
Yes,
Yeah.
very much so.
so then we
I don't remember.
the
what
board
my
asked
number
us to
was.
take a sabbatical, and it came to this because we weren't getting any breaks.
Yeah.
We were going go, 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 go,
Yeah.
go with no downtime, and it was foolishness to do that. The board looks back and says, yeah, we shouldn't have done that. We shouldn't have asked it of you. But it was an ignorance. You're the professional missionary. You're not on
Yeah.
the regular
Yeah.
schedule of doing furlough
Right.
because you're there working and fundraising, and the work has to go on. We don't have a Keith 2.0 to plug in.
Yeah.
And so we took a year's sabbatical and were requested, and we went to Alongside down in Richland, Michigan, Alongside Cares. And I can put in a plug for them that it was a ministry saving point in my career. Wish we could have had that early in our career as a pastor, as a husband and wife. Amazing, amazing program. And I got there through Samaritan's Purse. I called them and they said, we don't even have a program. Go to Alongside Cares. They are the gold standard in the U.S., in the world. They're the gold standard. We went there. It's a 3-week intensive. We live on campus, and the therapy, and yes, I'm a patient in recovery. Yeah.
Yeah.
And realizing,
Sorry, let me ask this question because I've been on a shorter sabbatical, but did you have I don't need a sabbatical, this is dumb. Like,
No.
did you ever have a moment like that, or were you like, yes, give me this year, give me this?
it was, we're going to do this or we're done.
Gotcha. Because I got sent on sabbatical and I was like, this is dumb. I don't need a sabbatical. Like I wasn't around the bend,
We weren't at the point
but I was
of
coming
where-
around the bend and
Yeah.
I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And then when I got there, I realized how much I needed it.
We weren't doing sabbatical because someone thought we needed it. This was
This
gonna
was
happen.
the only thing.
It was, we were done.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe it's unfair for me to say this, but Rhoda actually told me I'm never going back to Pakistan.
Hmm.
I'm never going back there. I'm done. And that's when we went to Alongside. That was where we started.
Wow.
And I was ready to throw in the towel in ministry. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I couldn't keep doing what I'd been doing. I was burned.
Yeah.
And
So
that's,
is it the type of thing where, you mentioned there's people to talk to, right?
Mhm.
It was a 3-week program, but are they talking to you together? Are they talking to you alone?
Yes,
Both?
yes, and all of that. We
Wow.
had group therapy. We individually were in different group therapy. We had couples therapy. We had individual therapy. We sat through, and we were there with other missionaries
Nice.
that had gone through the same things. We were there with ministers. We were there, and they have a program with doctors that come in, and we weren't facing anything that no one else wasn't facing,
Yeah.
and we didn't feel then. We thought when we went we were broken, and then we learned that nobody's broken and needs fixed. We're all just creatures of God, and this is okay.
Yeah.
That's been one of the biggest challenges coming out from that for people who should go and get some therapy, looking at you askance and saying, well, there's something wrong with you
There's
because
something
you went
wrong.
and got
Yeah.
therapy. But the reality is we met some people there that still to this day are friends, and we work together and talk to and can share. And because when you're in that situation where you're the sob and you're the ma'am,
Mm-hmm.
there's a distance. You can't get close.
Oh, yeah.
There's no closeness in
yeah.
relationship. There's no friendship because I'm the leader. I'm
Yeah.
the director. And it's 100% go, go, go. And when you're back states, you're almost put on a pedestal that, the Ackermans are here.
Missionaries,
The
yeah.
missionaries are here. And so to be able to just let your hair down and be real, I don't have to worry about letting my hair down. But,
Yeah.
it's just one of those things that finding a place, and that's why the Tab was good for us, because we could be here and in some ways almost hide a little bit in Buckley
Yeah.
just to try to unpack a little bit. And I remember when I first talked with you, you're like, I'm not asking you to do anything in ministry because that's the last thing you should be doing. But it's natural for me to want to engage that. And if I'm not engaged in it, then I feel like something's broken and I'm
Yeah.
not doing what I should be doing. And so
So do you think sabbatical gave you permission to rest?
it forced us to.
Or, I mean, it forced you
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. Then we realized the need for making boundaries
Yeah.
That's what I was going.
Yeah.
Did you have the same experience was it
alongside.
alongside?
Yeah.
Pretty much, I think, probably.
You were still in a caregiving
was-
role to
yeah.
me though a lot through that because
Yeah.
I was in rough shape when I got there.
Hmm.
And it's a
It
sense
was-
alongside that she's
Did
gone
you
through
think that
some-
Keith was broken?
No. No, it was just, I don't, it's hard to even put into words how difficult just thinking about going back and doing
Yeah.
what was needed. And even like when we come here, he still is up in the middle of the night talking to them because that's their daytime.
The
And
ones
so-
back in Pakistan.
Yeah.
He's still doing the training.
So he's
Yeah.
still doing everything that he needs to do, but a lot of it is in the nighttime. When we're over there, a lot of his work from here, he's doing in the middle of the night. And so a decent night's sleep is just
3 to
pretty
4
much
hours.
impossible.
Wow.
3 to 4 hour
Wow.
block of time.
You know,
Yeah.
and so it's just thinking about at the point of sabbatical, it was just everything was just so overwhelming that it was just way too much.
Felt like we were drowning
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we couldn't swim hard
and
enough.
we've learned that we need to. Our frequently we'll look at each other and say, "Well, I'm glad that's done. That's another stressor off of our list."
Right.
And
Now was sabbatical
Yeah.
5 years ago?
23,
Yeah.
So not quite.
23,
Yeah.
yeah,
So not
right,
quite. Yeah.
right.
2.5 years.
What changed? Because you said, or Keith said that you had said,
Yeah.
we're not going to Pakistan. What changed for you?
Mm.
Because obviously
Just-
you've been back to Pakistan.
Yes,
Yeah.
we have, and
But there's
there's-
parameters on it now.
yeah.
We're going back, but there's parameters.
There are. Yeah. And I think that probably is one of the big things is we will do this, but we're going to do it this way
Gotcha.
and not be crazy like we were.
Up to this
Right.
point in our ministry, if anybody asked us to do it, we did it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we sacrificed us
Yeah,
to
you'd
do
always
what
say yes.
ministry said. We always said yes. It was always go, go, go. Now we've learned it's okay to say no.
Mhm.
I can't do that. I'm sorry, I can't.
Yeah.
And got pushed on pretty hard.
And it's because you want to survive in ministry.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
And we
that's the
had-
boundary.
We
Yeah.
had to learn what our limitations were and not feel guilty or ashamed that we're having to say no because we were Superman
Mhm.
in ministry.
Or you think you have to be. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then found out there are no Supermen. There are only stupid men.
You
So-
said it, but I agree. Yeah.
So learning that you need to take yourself off that pedestal and be real. And, it's okay to be tired. It's okay to,
I'm so glad that happened for you.
it
Yeah.
literally was a life-changing, career-changing moment for us. And now we're
Right.
trying to take balance, though I still have to do 12 things at once. That's
Yeah.
just how I'm
no.
wired.
Yeah.
I got a million
did
things
you
going.
find coming back, because for me, it was a new commitment to boundaries. It was a new commitment to living what I called sabbatically,
Right.
meaning finding that rhythm. Like the last 2 weeks, don't look at me like that, Matt. The last 2 weeks have been crazy around here. A lot of events, a lot of meetings at night, preaching multiple different things, but there's got to be a payoff someplace.
Right.
And I find now I can make it through the sprint because when I get on the other side of that, I'm going to build in.
You got parameters to it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's
was that the same thing for you?
The boundaries, well, we found that was tested very heavily, especially by the Pakistanis, because during sabbatical, it forced the department head team, the medical director and the nursing superintendent to do things and step up. Even the hospital board had to step up in management. And so when we came back, of course, their temptation was, okay, Keith's back, boom, dump it all back on.
Like, nope, you've learned a new skill. You're going to use that skill.
Yeah, and we constantly push that back to them and say, you're able to tie your shoes today. It's time to grow. You've grown. We're not picking that back up. And so we're still in that process, even with the board and how things develop and evolve. And today, the hospital board has come around us in a solid way and supportive role.
That's great.
In a way that they've never been before. And we don't feel alone on an island now. We feel like we're valued and part of a team. And so, and realizing our limitations and just saying, I'm sorry, I can't do that. And accepting that that's okay to not be 100%, 365, 7, 24/7. You just can't.
Well, one of the biggest things is just learning it's okay to say no.
And not feel guilty about having to say no. And so that's where... but yet still having a heart for ministry and a desire to help people. And it kind of happens, you stop in somebody's business and next thing you know, they're just unloading their heart to you and it's okay. That's who God made us to be. And we're there and we're an extension of his hands. But I better understand in the scriptures when Jesus went alone to pray, he really felt alone.
Yeah.
He really felt alone at the garden when the disciples fell asleep.
Yeah.
Could you not watch with me? And so we understand that feeling of isolation. And that, to me, is probably the biggest problem we have. And when people get isolated and get separated from the body, Satan just preys on their minds, their emotions, their spirit. When you get picked off. And we were there.
Yeah.
We were there in a big way. And a lot of the struggle was even internal, feeling other from within the mission organization, within the church structure. Sometimes innocuous words or things that people would say didn't understand how it hit our ears and how it hit our heart. I don't think they intended it that way, but Satan twisted it, and he manages that to bring discouragement. And
absolutely,
the other piece of this I can't say enough is we learned that we needed to communicate. We needed to work on us. We've been married since 1988. We've been in this thing for a while. But yet we just about became a statistic.
Yeah. And
we didn't know how to work on us.
So the truth that I can't think of a better illustration, that's why I used it again this past weekend. You have to put your own mask on first before helping people around you.
Yeah.
That's true individually in a marriage, but that's also true as a ministry couple, no matter where God has you. If you don't say no and put your own mask on first, and that means relationships, so you don't feel isolated. That means staying connected with God, staying connected with one another.
Right.
Do you feel like you guys could do this for the next 20 years? Sorry, Rhoda immediately
said,
good.
I don't.
She learned how to say no.
No, our grandkids are important to us. And
Absolutely.
We're carving out time stateside.
How many grandkids do you guys have?
Just 2.
Just 2. I have 2 as well. They're the best.
Oh,
they
are.
make you absolutely crazy.
They do. They do.
They give us so much joy.
Yeah,
we get to see them. Their shenanigans are just a joy to our heart. So
when do you guys head back? Or what's the plan? Because I know you have to wait on visas and all that kind of stuff.
Well, visas are in hand. For me, hers are coming. They renew every year, so it's just a process for that. But generally right now, our schedule is we go over for the spring and fall board meetings is what we're going over for, and we usually go over for 2 to 4 weeks around that time frame. There'll be another ladies' conference that she'll be speaking at, and we'll be hosting.
Oh, we've heard this. Rhoda now speaks at ladies' conferences.
She does really well at them. The ladies just really
Is it
really
a thumb
enjoy.
in your back?
It's
because you shared prior that this is not your jam. This is not what you love doing.
It was definitely not something I ever thought I could do. But I will say that God showed himself very powerful and helpful to me when I had to speak. I was not planning on it, but he said, well, because of this and this, maybe God's telling you that you need to speak. And I said, well, I will try.
She went to the first day of the convention or the conference and didn't speak. She just prayed and then let the other people speak. And she came back and she said, they didn't get there. They didn't share the gospel. And I said, well, honey, the Holy Spirit's telling you, you need to get up and speak. She said, okay, I'll do it. And it was huge.
And
it was massive.
I was nervous until I got up to go on stage and start talking. And then it was just like God just took my mouth and spoke through me. And so I can't say that it's my calling, but if God wants me to, I know he's gonna help me.
That's awesome. This has been good. So as we wrap up, I'm excited because there's people in our church that still have no idea they've even seen the video last year through the Big Give. But now you've been outed. Oh, you're that? Yeah. What are some ways from each of you that we as a church can pray for you and your ministry?
Probably the greatest thing we struggle with is wisdom, to know where the balance needs to be, because the temptation to get sucked back into the swirl is so big.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's so much work. There's no way humanly possible we can do it all. And so what do you not do? Mm-hmm. What do you let go? But praying for, of course, safety and protection when we travel is a no-brainer. Praying for the work and God's blessing on the hospital and protection on the staff and the patients. But for us personally, it's having that balance, and that we take the time that we need and have the time that we need so that we can effectively minister. And we're considering transition also. We're at that time that, looking towards maybe that being in Pakistan forever is not. Maybe we need to engage ministry here more, and how that looks and what it looks like. And so we've always tried to be available and want to be available, not asking for a place, but always wanting to be available to be used by the kingdom. But I think keeping that balance and not being a statistic is really something that we're trying every day now, intentionally trying to make this day filled with what it needs to be for us. In not a selfish way, but somewhat selfish, of protecting our own self and our own heart.
Yeah, that's good. Rhoda, you want the last word? You don't strike me as the type that would fight for the last word.
No.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for serving the Lord, for serving together, for not being a statistic. So wisdom for balance so you don't burn out. Safety and protection, that's an obvious one. We can pray for that. And for the work of the ministry in Sahiwal. Did I say it right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, Sahiwal.
The biggest burden we have is the fundraising piece of raising the annual budget for the School of Nursing is $360,000 US, and we have to raise all of that in donors and sustainers who come alongside. And so that's why we're gone a lot, traveling, speaking. I do a lot of Zoom calls with churches and meetings, and it's a heavy load. It's ministry.
Yeah.
But God's been gracious. He's been good and kind and blessed beyond measure. We're living the days of Elijah in our ministry, of seeing return for the fruit that's being plucked now. A lot of people plant for years and never see a harvest. We're seeing harvest. We're seeing direct result, and it's been very fulfilling to be engaged in that. And that sometimes you want more result because you saw good results, so you expect more. But yeah, we're totally dependent upon what God has for us and desire to follow His will, and be a blessing in the kingdom. So
awesome. Thank you Was it as painful as you thought it would be?
No.
We definitely went longer than I said we would, but that's all right. We got a lot to say, so that was good. I took us down the Honduras bunny trail, but you almost took us over the cliff, buddy. Yeah, Keith's story. So, podcast family, you know the drill. If this is encouragement to someone, share it, like it, subscribe, unsubscribe if we're still doing that. Please pray for Keith and Rhoda. If you feel called to support that ministry, we could probably link it. Is there a link that we could send people to?
Yeah,
We'll put it in the notes for this show.
World Witness is the sending agency, and we have a connection. That's who manages the funds stateside. That's the sending agency of the ARP.
We will hype the ARP, but thank you.
And the TAB is supporting nursing scholarships too through the big give money.
100%.
There was money given to that and to us, and we thank you for that.
Yeah, it's our.
And I can't
privilege.
say enough how much it's been good to have a church home and a family where we feel like we're appreciated for who we are, not something we have to be or put on we don't have to have our game face on. We can just come be real and come
worship and
worship.
Yeah.
And
be a Fight Club.
Yep.
Yeah. Do the thing.
Yep.
Rhoda doesn't come to Fight Club, but that would be weird.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Until next time, podcast family, this is Keith and Rhoda Ackerman, Lord Matthew Corey Hughes, and myself, John Vermilia. We're signing off.